Hello, everyone. My name is Sasha Horvat. I'm a philosopher from Croatia, and it gives me a great pleasure to be part of this international conference. My today's topic is titled Love All, Trust a Few on Human Relationships with Artificial Intelligence. So, let us begin. But before that, I would like to thank to the organizers for inviting me to join this conference. It's truly my great pleasure to be part of it. So I'm sharing my PowerPoint with you and we can begin. In the introduction, I would like to talk a little bit about why I choose this topic. First of all, the phenomenon of trust underlines human relationships. People trust each other to a certain extent in everyday tasks and joint adventures. Only when our relationship with other people begins to be of more importance for us do we begin to formulate questions such as how much should we trust each other? In what way and on what grounds is our trust based? Human caution regarding trust was nicely expressed by William Shakespeare when he wrote, "Love all, trust a few, do wrong to none," in his play All's Well That Ends Well. So when it comes to artificial intelligence, there is an ongoing debate which questions the possibilities of building trust between human beings and AI. This has become an interesting topic in the European Union, especially since the European Commission's high-level expert group on artificial intelligence last year posited in their document that under certain conditions we should trust in AI and that we need to develop a trustworthy AI. The trustworthy AI for them has three components. It should be lawful, ethical, and robust. The idea is that, quoting, only by ensuring trustworthiness will European individuals fully reap AI systems benefits, secure in the knowledge that measures are in place to safeguard against their potential risks. So here we need also to state that the Commission suggested the following definition of AI. So artificial intelligence systems are software and possibly also hardware designed by humans that, given a complex goal, act in a physical or digital dimension by perceiving their environment through data acquisition, interpreting the collected structured or unstructured data, reasoning on the knowledge or processing the information derived from this data, and deciding the best actions to take to achieve the given goal. Now, AI has become part of human everydayness and we interact with it on daily basis. On mobiles we have popular apps that count our movements, suggest to us how to stay healthy. We have algorithms suggesting news for us. On the roads we have smart cars. In hospitals we have doctors that also in some way communicate or make these decisions with the help of algorithms. We also have social workers that may make their decisions with the help of algorithms, analyzing big data concerning how people behave or will they repeat a certain crime and so on. Although we are becoming used to certain levels of interaction with AI, one thing is to trust mobile application on how much walking is good for you, and completely another thing is to trust and decide about someone's future and freedom with the help of probability statistics obtained from large data samples analyzed by algorithms. These all different kind of ways we interact with AI has different kind of consequences and responsibilities. Further on, things can get even more complicated in our relationship with AI. What about complex systems where software is based on deep learning in reaching its decision for action? In this case, we could be facing a lack of explainability of machines' learning process that had led to a certain decision or action. Can we trust a black box? For example, this could be of crucial importance for doctors when they are making diagnoses with the help of AI. Therefore, we can argue that talking about trust and AI is not a black and white situation. Either we trust or we don't. It's a complex situation that requires further investigation. The aim of this lecture is to provide philosophical analysis of fundamental factors of the trust between people, and on this basis to assess what do we really mean and want when we are speaking about trust in AI. In the second step and conclusion, we will also consult philosophy of technology to gain a better understanding how deep is our connection with technology. So you can see, for instance, on these images, when people trust too much Google Maps navigations in Croatia during summer times and end up in dead-end streets, or for instance, this couple that is sleeping while smart car is driving for them. So these are all serious issues concerning how much do we trust and should we trust so much to artificial intelligence. So what is trust? We said that people trust each other to a certain extent in everyday tasks. We also trust to institutions, we trust laws, we trust technologies, artifacts, we trust ourselves, we trust the divine. So many different entities. But usually when we talk about trust, we have in mind a framework of interpersonal trust. From interpersonal relationships. So this is a relationship that develops between one who has confidence in someone or trustor and one in whom trust is directed or placed, trustee. According to the Cambridge Dictionary, the concept trust, used as a verb, means to have belief or confidence in the honesty, goodness, skill or safety of a person, organization or a thing. End of quote. So also the person who can be trusted is called trustworthy. In a similar way in Croatian, we also say povjerenje or pouzdanje, meaning that we have a belief in someone that will do what we expect them to do, that we have confidence, security in them. So I would also like to hear how in South Korean language do you say trust, and do you have maybe different words that make a distinction between when you trust someone, like a human being, or when you trust institutions or artifacts. So trust is in the heart of our relationship with other people and with the world. For instance, if we didn't have trust in drivers, in bus drivers, or in airplane pilots, we would not go into airplane, we will not go into buses. If we don't have trust in doctors, for instance, in emergency situations, we will not surrender ourselves to their healthcare, to their solutions. So in this way, we are now noticing that to trust someone requires a certain surrender to the unknown. We expose ourselves to certain risks. So we say that trust is always packed with a certain risks. So the question for philosophers is our trust in the trustee warranted? Meaning, is it rational? And are we trusting a trustworthy person? Because if we are not right, we could get hurt. So when trust is warranted? if we ask this question, then we are speaking about the nature of trust. Also, we can look at trust from the angle of value. Sometimes trust is justified because some value will emerge from trusting somebody. Also, very important thing is we cannot wish to trust someone, to have a trust into someone. We need to justify our trust to ourselves. So, with looking at these philosophical issues about trust that are extremely complex, and we don't have time to go too much into details, we can say that on the basis of understanding human interpersonal trust, we try to develop understanding of trust in AI. But yet there is another important issue, namely, can we even talk about trust in artificial intelligence? Let me explain this. So, philosophers make a difference between trust and reliance. Trust is some kind of reliance, but it's much more. It always has something extra in it. For example, if you are the driver for the picture that we saw a moment ago, and you trust your Google Maps and you get stuck in some narrow street on a Croatian island, then you will feel disappointed in this application, in this algorithm. But this is a different feeling and different emotion from, for instance, if you trust someone with your children for safekeeping for afternoon off, so you can go to do, let's say, a video presentation for a conference, and this person, this trustworthy, that you thought that was trustworthy person, that was not so careful with your children. You don't only feel disappointed, as in the example with Google Maps, but you also feel a little bit betrayed, even maybe ashamed, because you gave your children to someone that turned out not to be trustworthy. So there is a difference between trust, interpersonal trust, and when we are speaking about reliance. So many authors are now criticizing the idea that we should be speaking about trust and trustworthy artificial intelligence, but that it is more precise to speak about reliance in AI. So this is called the process of anthropomorphization of AI, meaning that we foster and support AI in the human form, in a human way. But is this justifiable? Will this maybe lead our thinking astray when we are thinking about artificial intelligence? So we will see. This is still an open question. But we also know that trust is extremely important if citizens and societies will or will not accept artificial intelligence and solutions that it is offering to our humankind. So maybe a great benefit of AI will pass by us because we didn't develop trust in it and its answers. So we are now leaving the question of justifiability of speaking about trust in AI open for further discussion. And now we wonder, what does it really mean when we say to have trust in artificial intelligence? So we are speaking about the act of trust in artificial intelligence. So in our human relationships, trust is a direct one. We directly trust to someone for certain tasks, not for everything. Some people are good for some things, other people are good for something else. Also, the trustee knows that we are trusting in them and knows that we are expecting from them to do something. So there is a special kind of bond of relationship between the one who trusts and the trustee. Also, we said that we trust institutions. But if we will look a little bit more closer, we are not exactly trusting the institutions, but we are trusting the people that are working in the institutions. We are trusting the workers, because we believe that they are hired for a reason, especially, for instance, in private companies. Maybe not so much state companies, but definitely in private companies. For instance, we trust that a chef in a restaurant will do a great job with fish specialties, because if he does not, then soon customers will make their marks on the internet, and it will be a known fact that this restaurant has a bad fish dishes. So it will be a bad business for the restaurants. That is why we believe that the restaurant will hire someone who knows how to do their job. But when we speak about trust in artificial intelligence, do we trust algorithms as such? Well, not really. What we trust are the people who are behind the product, behind the algorithm, behind artificial intelligence. Developers, project managers, marketing team, directors of IT companies, owners of them, manufacturers of these goods, and so on. But we also trust our government, who gave them the permission to sell their products and who generally is monitoring their activities. So in the act of trusting artificial intelligence, we are basically talking about delegated trust, meaning that we put our trust into people behind it. And this is very important if we want to develop trust in AI, because who is to blame if AI does not perform as expected? What if we have human casualties? Who is responsible? It is very important that we know in this long chain of people behind a product who is really responsible if something goes wrong. In this way, and because of this, many authors, as I said, are against the idea of trustworthy AI. For instance, Joanna Bryson from the University of Bath says that we need to abandon the idea of AI systems and to think of them as being responsible or to present them as legal entities. For example, she says, quoting, like any other manufactured product, either the manufacturer or the owner must be accountable for any damage it causes, end of quote. We would also like here to say that there is also another issue, and that is that people who use artificial intelligence also need to make a critical stance toward it. They are also, in a way, responsible for using that specific, for instance, application without being critical about it, about its performance. Many other authors are here, you can see them on the slide, are also trying to develop a framework that will enable some kind of ethical framework to enable development of trust in artificial intelligence, like Hexter, Peters, Winfried Jirotka, and Margit Suttrop, and others. So they are, all of them say that transparency is extreme, almost all of them, that transparency is extremely challenging to make this happen. Even the guidelines from the European Union also state that it is important to develop holistic and systematic approach. That means that trustworthiness is encompassing of all the actors and all processes that are part of the system's social, technological, technical context throughout its entire life circle. So this is something that is still developing, and people are suggesting in what way should we develop situations that we enable that people start trusting AI. But now I would like just to say a few words about philosophy of technology. So Philosophy of AI, or philosophy of artificial intelligence, could be seen as a branch of philosophy of technology. Now, this kind of branch can teach us something very important about artificial intelligence. First of all, philosophy of technology was started as something, had a negative attitude. For instance, authors like Martin Heidegger, Karl Jaspers, who wrote about technology and who witnessed the horrible things that happened thanks to technology in the Second World War. Yet there are other authors that are also developing their thinking with the help of Heidegger and Jaspers, but they are developing a more positive and realistic view on today's contemporary situation concerning technology, like Don Ide or Peter Paul Verbeek and others. So they say something like this: today we have trust in technology that range from reliance to suspicion, and even they say to confidence. So they claim, for instance, authors like in their joint paper, Kiran and Verbeek, that we are trusting ourselves to technologies. So we notice that technologies are changing us, and they say they are constituting our subjectivity. In this process, we as human beings are deliberately trusting ourselves to technology. So the important concept here to understand their way of thinking is technological mediation, or the mediation theory. So Peter Paul Verbeek points out that, quoting, this theory offers a framework to analyze the roles technologies play in human existence and in society. Its central idea is that technologies, when they are used, help to shape the relations between human beings and the world. So rather approaching technologies as material objects opposed to human subjects, or as mere extensions of human beings, it sees them as mediators of human-world relations. So what does this mean? For instance, just a quick example. If you have an application on your smartwatch, and this application tells you that your heartbeat are extremely high when you are doing certain tasks, and then you need to relax, or to contact your doctor, or to in a different way perform the act that is causing heart rate to go up, then then you are thinking about it, and you are changing your habits, you are changing your way, what are you doing right now, you are maybe contacting your doctor, and in a way this application is changing your relation to yourself, to other people, to the world, to your job, and so on. You need to trust your application to listen to her advice. So in a way, there are also many other examples, for instance, from medicine, telemonitoring devices that also gives us tips, or warn our doctors that something is wrong with our body and with some of its functions. So in a way, we gave our trust to these technologies. We entrusted ourselves to technology. We have confidence that it will deliver. And we see how it's shaping our own way of thinking about the world. This year, a famous French philosopher, Bernard Stiegler, passed away, and he was very important for the notion of philosophy of technology. He claims that technology is not threatening us, but that we are human, that we have evolved as we did because we have managed to develop the ability to use technology. We are humans because we know how to use technology. So it's not threatening us, but we need, again, to see how it's developing us. How is it mediating our human relationship and our relationship to the world? So we now come to the conclusion because our time is already up. So in the lecture, we gave a brief overlook on the philosophical insights of the phenomenon of trust. We try to provide some of the basic streams, how to think about this trust. Then we use this to think about trust in artificial technologies. And we saw that we also delegate our trust not directly to the AI, but to the chain of responsibility, to people behind the product. But we also said that many questions are still open. They are contemporary questions and we need to address them. Still, if the mediation theory that we mentioned in the final part holds its ground, and it seems it does, then the fundamental philosophical question arises only at the end of our lecture. And it says, are we too late with asking the question of trust in artificial intelligence? Are we so deeply immersed in technology that we cannot longer truly stand in the place of distrust to technology? If we remember Stigler, then maybe we never truly stood in a place like this. But perhaps the coming of artificial intelligence that will change the way we understand ourselves will force us to ask the question of trust in a more decisive and more fundamental way. At the end, maybe there is no better advice than that in the Shakespeare's play given by the mother whose son is going to do big world on his own, and she said to him, love all, trust a few. So thank you for your time. I'm looking forward to the questions and Q&A section. Thank you.